Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey. It is Wednesday, the 18th of October. Good news, everyone. Work will begin on Southway Plaza, down on the south side of Muncie again, apparently soon. I'll tell you what, I'll hold my breath and we'll see which one happens first. Work continues or I fall out on the floor. We'll figure out what goes on there together. I'll believe it when I see it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Wednesday night edition, episode 57. For those of you that have not seen the thumbnail either earlier in the day or if you have not seen, I know a lot of people were asking, some people maybe didn't buy it or didn't believe it, but I keep my word. The Democratic candidate for Mayor of Muncie is going to be joining us here in just a moment. This is our interview with Jeff Robinson, Democrat candidate for Mayor of Muncie. He'll be joining us here in just a few moments. First, I want to get out of the way. Number one, early voting is still underway. It's going on currently. I will say this for Delaware County. For Delaware County, early voting is underway. It is currently going on Monday through Friday from the opening of the clerk's office to the closing of the clerk's office. They might be down for lunch. I'm not sure. I'll check into that. But you can go there. It's open when the clerk's office is open. There will also be 2 Saturdays of early voting leading up to the election. We're just 3 weeks away, so this is all going to be going pretty quickly. So make sure you do not need a reason to go vote early. I would like to ask you, I used to be weird about this. I used to push early voting. And then in the last couple of years, I've just pushed going out. Listen, if you have a valid reason and you're not going to be here, or you might not get to it on Tuesday, November 7th, go vote early. But if you're just going to be around Muncie and you can make it on the 7th, there's something about going and voting on Tuesday, on Election Day. There's just something different about it. I voted early for many years, and it just seems like it just doesn't seem right. I don't know. So open voting, early voting is a thing. It is open. If you live outside of Muncie, if you live in Madison County or you live in Randolph County or Henry County, you might check with your county clerk's office on what the hours and what they do there. You will need your driver's license or an ID card to present, so keep that in mind, and you will need to have been registered, so also keep that in mind. If you thought you were registered and you have some kind of trouble, I am telling people what I always tell them. If you have trouble voting early or on Election Day, please contact me. Do what you can. If you go to either your early voting, the clerk's office, or you go to a polling site and they turn you away, they're not supposed to do that. Contact me. Don't get in the car and drive home and go about your life. Contact me from the polling place where you were turned away. They're supposed to let you vote provisional ballot and then sort the craziness out later. They're not supposed to turn you away. So please contact me so we can make sure you vote. Every year, people always get screwed out of voting because something crazy happens. And then on the back end, they learn, what do you mean? I could have voted? Well, yeah, because they're supposed to give you the option to vote with a provisional ballot, and then you figure all the craziness out later. They don't send you away and say, well, you just can't vote. So keep that in mind, and we'll keep saying that as we get closer. Without delay, though, I do want to bring in our guests so we can get started. I know there are a lot of people chomping at the bit to get with this. So if everyone have any questions, have any thoughts, whatever, please put them up on the screen. We will try to get to everyone. This is going to go, pretty quick as far as questions and answers. So I've got a kind of a thing that I'm going down. I want to let everybody know, as in all of the other 7 interviews, the questions and our conversation has not been pre-planned out. None of the candidates knew anything that I was going to ask ahead of time. And so that is what it is. Audie says that if people need rides on election day, which I know that can sometimes be a thing, if people need rides on election day, he's going to be able to hook that up. I've always offered to be able to help people out if you need help getting to a polling place, and we will do that. So we will go from there. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be bringing on the man of the hour. Here he is, Jeff Robinson.
How we doing, Kristopher?
All right. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. You've got me up past my bedtime.
Yeah, right. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. I told everybody, I said, I think out of all of the time that I've known you now, this is, I think, your first time on the program. So thank you for being here.
And, long time listener, first time guest.
Right. Absolutely. So I feel like out of some of the district races, people might not know exactly who they're talking to or who's talking to them, rather, and specifically dealing with some of the challengers. However, you have been someone that's been kind of in the face of politics for the last 4 years. I don't think people have any confusion on who you are, but just for those in the back that might have just woke up yesterday, give people a little rundown of who you are and why we're talking to you right now.
Yeah, so my name is Jeff Robinson. I'm the Democrat nominee for Muncie Mayor. Hey, Charlize, I see she's saying hello. Yeah. Democrat nominee for Muncie Mayor. I'm a Muncie native, born and raised, been here nearly my entire life. I'm a Ball State alum, graduated Muncie Central High School, and been working in service to this community through various nonprofits almost my entire career. I jumped into the race in 2019 for City Council in District 2. Was one of 2 Democrats who won a contested election in 2019, and have been serving on City Council ever since. I'm in my 3rd year as president of that City Council this year. Very proud to be the president of a Republican majority City Council.
Right.
So
that is doing something.
Yeah, much to the consternation of some of my friends who are Republicans, but look, the folks that chose me to be president know I'm willing to work with anybody, and we've got to work together towards solutions to the problems that we have in this community. So that's me in a nutshell.
Just really quickly, let me ask you this, just to clear this up for future council folks, so people will know. I always get so mad when the community gripes about this as much. It has never truly mattered to me who the president of the council is. I have never cared about that. That doesn't affect what I do in any way. It doesn't affect what the citizens do. That's really an inner council type of a thing. And, you're the person who's talking a lot of the meeting and running the meeting. But as far as you know, it doesn't change your role as a counselor or give you any other real special powers other than you call the meetings or any special meetings. But the council can also call a special meeting if they have a quorum to do that. So, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't have any special power. I wish that'd be awesome.
Right.
But no, my job as president of council is to facilitate the meetings. You know, and you know that's it's a challenging job to facilitate the meeting, especially in an election year. I've been proud this year that we've not had any issues, thank goodness. You know, so. No, you know, I get an extra $500 a year on that paycheck. So instead of $14,400, I'm $14,900. So I think every paycheck that comes up to, you know, maybe $10 or $12 every paycheck. But no, and I appoint the president of council appoints standing committees.
Sure.
Although, you know, the standing committees that we have currently were appointed actually in 2020.
Yeah.
When Councilman Brad Polk was president, and I've tried to keep those committees the same unless someone has requested to change committees. And of course, as you know, Chris, we've gone through some changes on this council over the course of the last 4 years. We have 5 members of the council who have been caucused in. So as elected council members have rolled off and caucused members have come in, I've just slid them into the place of the elected council person.
Sure.
So, you know, yeah, you can call special meetings, but to your point, you know, if I believe it's 6 members of council, yeah, to call a special meeting, and I think maybe they can only do that when I'm out of town.
Okay.
If I remember right, but it doesn't matter because
Sure.
we haven't done that or don't need to do that. But
yeah.
No, it's everybody acts like it's like you're the second, you know, like I don't know what people think,
Right.
but it's really not that glamorous.
Yeah, right.
Nobody even calls me council president, which is a super bummer, but whatever.
Right, absolutely. So, okay, well, let's I mean, we might as well get straight to it. I've always been very clear to say that in 2019, I think you were actually one of the people that I did not interview. You did not have a challenge in the primary, I believe, and so that's when I did the big set of interviews. And then the next time, I just don't think we got to it, so we didn't interview. And you and I kind of didn't. I mean, I didn't spend a whole lot of time talking with you. Really, kind of got to know you a lot through COVID and all of that. But you know, I kind of assumed that you would take a couple years or a couple terms on the council. Pretty quickly, early in, I assumed that you would eventually take a shot at mayor. That was just my own assumption. But why did you pick this time to run for mayor, you know, as opposed to going another 4 years on the council?
Yeah, well, because we have to do better. You know, the answer is very simple. You know, we have to do better than what we're doing right now. The current administration, and look, you know, in full disclosure, you know, and I've told people this in the past that, you know, yeah, I had considered running for mayor, you know, even after being elected in 2020 and 2021, but I had assumed then that I would serve 2 terms on council and then take a shot at it in 2027. But as I've served on council these past 4 years, and with the way that that council has really, you know, our role unfortunately has been diminished by this administration because there's an unwillingness to collaborate with the council on issues in our community. And you know, we all know the issues that we have are bigger than one person. One person isn't going to solve all of our issues, although in the case of the current administration, you know, being economic development director and mayor, you know, it's become abundantly clear that they think that they can. You know, I think, you know, over the last 4 years, I think it's shown that it isn't happening. One person cannot do this, and we have to bring everybody to the table. We have to not concern ourselves with who's getting credit. We've got to not concern ourselves with who's gaining political capital. We've got to make decisions for the betterment of our community, not for our own reelection. The list goes on, but it all comes back to we have to do better. And, I'm in a unique position, and I've had, full disclosure also, it was Andrew Dale that came to me about a year and a half, a little bit longer than a year and a half ago. And, of course, Andrew was going to run for mayor, and Andrew really encouraged me to do it. He thought that I was in a better position to do it. And so, had a lot of friends, had colleagues urging me to do it because they were also frustrated with the way things have been going. So, I decided, and beyond that, I didn't want to serve on council for 4 more years with Dan Ridenour as mayor. And that's just being full disclosure.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's frustrating. It's frustrating specifically, I as part of my view as a watcher and as someone in the community that's paid attention is just the lack of. The promise was, all this communication and accountability and transparency. And then, we see, this year alone, it's just been none of that. He's not been at council meetings, and that's so frustrating. So I definitely get your point there. Moving into the, I guess one of my big concerns, and a big concern of a lot of people, are all of these projects. It seems like we've started as a city, or we've heard announcements of these projects, and after the newspaper articles die out, and after the photo ops go away, the projects just kind of stack up and they never really get done, and nothing really comes of it. And then we find out that we've dumped a lot of money into these. We've given tax abatements on top of dumping money onto, and it's just things that we keep waiting for and waiting for. And that all is wrapped up in economic development. So as far as economic development goes, how do you believe that your economic development approach would differ from that of the current administration?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I would hire an experienced economic development official. Look, economic development is difficult. There are people that spend their entire careers learning the trade of economic development. They're local economic development officials, LEDOs. So number one, you've got to hire somebody that's a professional, somebody that's done it before. Because it's so nuanced. Look, I don't understand all of the nuances of economic development because I've not done it in the past. Okay. So, as a mayor, your job really is to put the best people in the best positions to deliver the best results. And I understand my limitations. I understand that I can't run economic development and be mayor simultaneously. So, that would be the number one thing, would be hiring hiring a new economic development official that's experienced and can execute that job. And number two, look, we have economic development officials currently working in this county. So my hope would be, and what my desire is to develop stronger relationships with existing economic development corporations. We've got the Muncie Delaware County Economic Development Alliance, for starters. Who do great work. They're primarily responsible for bringing CanPack to the community, as well as other very meaningful projects for Muncie. So, we need to be working in collaboration and working hand in hand with existing economic development officials so that we're working together. Many hands make light work. So, right. And really, my focus and what we've been talking about for the last little bit more than 10 months is really that back to basics approach. Every year, our mayors spend, and this isn't just Dan Ridenour, this is in prior administrations as well. We spend millions and millions of dollars on projects with the hopes to lure people to Muncie, to attract people to Muncie. In doing so, we overlook the people who choose to be here right now.
Right.
So and look, census data, we anybody can Google Muncie, Indiana population, and you can look at the census data. All of those millions of dollars trying to attract people to come here has been throwing good money after bad because we're still losing population. We're not gaining population, we're losing it. So, we've even lost population since 2020. So, we need to focus on the basics. We need to focus on and get really good at what local government's basic responsibilities are. We need to improve infrastructure. We need to focus more heavily on public safety. We need to, the list goes on and on and on, enforcing codes, enforcing and observing local ordinances, animal care and control. All of these things, unless and until we are great at those things, we shouldn't be focusing on anything else. When we get good at those things, when we're efficient, and when we're living up to those basic responsibilities of local government, then, and I'm going to sound like a Republican here, okay? The free market will take care of the rest. The city shouldn't be in the business of being developer. We should not be real estate developers, okay? We should be taking care of the basic responsibilities and then taking care of our citizens as well.
Yeah.
So for me, what my campaign is bringing is a different approach, a course correction in how we're doing economic development. We never stopped after the factories left. We never really stopped to preserve, to take stock of what we have, and look, you've got the current administration that are adding more parks, right? Mm-hmm. They're adding more parks. Well, I represent District 2 in Muncie, which is the west side of Muncie. We have a park there called Guthrie Park. It's just west of the hospital. Every year, a couple of times a year, I have to call to make sure that it gets mowed. So in trying to grow and in growing our parks, we're spread too thin and we can't take care of what we have now.
Right. So
I want to take care of what we have now. I want to build our community back, through infrastructure in those other areas I mentioned. And then we can start talking about growth.
Okay. All right. So you probably don't mean 1,000 splash pads in 1,000 days.
No.
Okay. I definitely agree with that. And the other aspect of that, in dealing with the people that we have here, and focusing on what we have to offer, I think, let me ask you this, I guess, about that. As mayor, do you believe that you will have, the mayor before the current mayor had time where people could come in and communicate. This mayor has a Dream with Dan and has community updates. Obviously, I wouldn't ask you to copy either one of those two mayors, but were you going to be available to the citizens throughout your term as mayor in ways where citizens can voice issues with you, more than just having to try to track you down in an office somewhere? I guess the point I'm trying to get at is, as a counselor, you've always been very open. You've always been very responsive to me and to other folks that I know, that I've heard of. And I'm not just speaking from my perspective. And I'm talking about those people that you want to focus on here in the community. Yeah. Obviously, your role is going to shift if you're the mayor. So how do you maintain that same kind of drive to stay connected to those people?
Yeah, well, because that's why I'm here. Look, when your boss calls you, you answer, right? When your boss calls you, you call them back. If they email, you email them back. And I think the number one job of an elected official, and by the way, I consider elected officials to be public servants. Yeah. So the number one job of a public servant is to be accessible to their constituents. In my time on council, I've always prided myself in responding to and engaging with my constituents. How else do you know what the issues are that need addressed if you're not communicating with your constituents? It sounds like a nightmare to me to be kind of inside that bubble where you're disconnected from your community. Like I said earlier, I grew up here. This is my community. I'm doing this because I love this community and I love the people in this community, and talking to people and engaging with people is really what gives me energy. It's what keeps me going. We hosted a Steve Craig, District 1 City Council candidate, and myself hosted a community skate last night at Gibson's Arena, and had 150 or so people show up to that. And, like I say, that gives me energy. That gives me energy. I want to know what people's issues are, what their issues are, and what I can do to help address those issues. So, I think what the prior administration did, I believe it was once a month, they had a day where you could come up, you could get 15 minutes with the mayor. I intend to do something very similar. 15 minutes obviously is not enough time to address serious issues, but I think what he did then and what I would plan to do now would be to do just that. Have 15-minute brief conversation. If it's a major issue, if there's something that needs a continuance of that conversation, then we can schedule the appropriate amount of time to dive a little deeper. But I want everybody to feel like they can come. I mean, my God, man, I'm running for mayor of Muncie, right? I'm not running for governor. I'm not trying to be president of the United States here. This is my community that I care about, and my full intent is to continue to communicate with my constituents.
Very good. One more question along with the people aspect of it before I move into some departments within the city, and that is something one of the questions just was asked there in the comments, and I've had the same question. And I know it's a balancing act, because obviously at City Hall there has to be security, there has to be safety. I think what we've seen at City Hall in the last 3 years has been just an absolute ridiculous locking down of the building. It's gone almost so far as you're basically told now, don't just come during business hours 8 to 5. Now you need to call and schedule an appointment, and we'll know and we'll be here. And then it's not you just walk in and you go there. It's very restrictive. If your mayor, obviously in talking with your chief of police and the police department, would there be any plans to make that less restrictive, or people's flow of the building any easier than what it currently is?
To be honest, I haven't even really thought about it. I remember when they did that, they initially did that because of an issue. Remind me, and maybe you remember, it was something like somebody went in and spread white powder all over the place or something.
It was baby powder that two women who had a problem with, I believe they had a problem with the human rights, a decision that came on from the human rights decision, and something was like there was a mental health issue, and they spread some baby powder throughout the building. This was right around the time of COVID and all that stuff, and so everything kind of got a little crazy. And I understand there needs to be security, and there needs to be a level of any government building you go into, there's a level of security. But when the issue that I have is when you're having public meetings and you're holding public meetings on the second floor in a conference room, and you have the public who should be able to come into those meetings without being molested, without being, needing to write their name down or tell who they are. The Public Access Council is very clear. You don't have to give your name to go to a meeting, attend a meeting. They have to be not behind closed doors. It's just been very, very restrictive. And I guess just this is more of not of a question, just as something to focus on.
Yeah.
I'm sure hoping that that's something that you can at least look at attempting to make it less restrictive than it currently is.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a balance in everything, right? And I want to make sure that people feel welcome at City Hall. It is their building, after all. So I certainly want people to feel comfortable and feel welcome and feel safe to come in there. I also want city employees to feel safe when they come to work.
Absolutely.
So there's a balance there somewhere. Again, I hadn't really thought about it too much. So I don't really have an answer to that, to be
Right.
perfectly honest with you, but that's something that that my police chief, I would trust them to find that compromise. But there's got to be something, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Please, audience, don't take that as he didn't answer that. That's fair, because that's the same kind of answer that I would have expected. I think that is a perfectly good answer that you would want to get in and talk with, your head of security, police, and do what needs to happen there. So that's sufficient. Let me ask you now. There's been a couple things that have recently been talked about. You brought them up with your infrastructure plan, and I think this has been kind of used against you in a way that I didn't really agree with. But it's been said that you are planning to shut down the street department and all of this, and I've not heard you say anything like that. What's your plans in this infrastructure plan? If you can kind of go through that quickly and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the infrastructure plan, and everybody can go to my website and see that infrastructure plan bit by bit. You can see what roads we're going to do. You're going to see everything that I'm about to tell you. So the infrastructure plan is simple. We want to take out a $25 million bond. No new taxes, no additional taxes. We would pay it back with a primary pledge of edit funds. And then use a mixture of a little bit from local road and street, as well as wheel tax distributions. We want to spend $20 million paving 82 lane miles of major thoroughfares in our community. Over the course of the last 4 years, most of the roads have been a block at a time inside neighborhoods. I'm happy for the people who live on those roads. But myself, I haven't driven on a freshly paved road. Well, I take that back. I drove down Riverside the other day. But with the exception of that, I don't drive down freshly paved roads because I don't live in a neighborhood where they have freshly paved.
Right.
So these major thoroughfares, this is where our economy lives. This is where visitors to our community drive. It's how we all get around town. And it's an embarrassment. And again, I would encourage folks to go to my website and see what roads we have scheduled. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking MLK. It's been almost 30 years since MLK was paved. 12th Street, Kirby, Willard, Burlington, Ohio. There's several other streets. There it is. You can go to the website and you can see what roads we intend to do. And then, so I mentioned $20 million to do those 82 lane miles of roads. We also want to take that $5 million and use $5 million for sidewalks and ADA accessibility. Look, anybody that's spent any time walking around this city knows we have a real issue with sidewalks.
Absolutely.
It's hard enough for folks like us, Kristopher, to walk around and get around these sidewalks. What about wheelchair users?
Oh, yeah.
What about people that are dependent on wheelchairs to get around this community? They just can't do it.
It's not doable.
Yeah, so we want to use $5 million to upgrade sidewalks and provide better ADA accessibility as well. Our infrastructure, I think everybody can agree, our infrastructure is crumbling. It's in horrible, horrible shape. So, big problems require bold solutions. And I think with the infrastructure plan that we've brought forward is absolutely an achievable plan. We've consulted with the largest paving companies in the state. We've talked to project engineers, you name it. We spent 3 months creating and vetting this plan. We know it's achievable. So, like I say, major thoroughfares, and everybody will say, and when they look at it, so I'm going to tell everybody right now, Tillotson is not on that paving plan. East McGalliard is not on that paving plan, but let me tell you why. That is because Tillotson as well as McGalliard have already been authorized with federal and state matching funds. Those roads are already scheduled to be done. Excuse me. So I didn't want to put those on the list because what my aim is in this campaign is to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
So I want to be completely transparent and upfront with everything that we're going to do. I'm not trying to inflate anything. So that's why you will not see Tillotson and McGuire. But let me go a step further. I see this as a great opportunity because Tillotson and McGuire are going to get done. NDOT, the state is taking care of Highway 32, which includes Main Street as well as Jackson Street and Kilgore. And that is from east to west, the entire length. Those are 4 of our major roads in this community. So I see this as an opportunity to go ahead, take that bold solution, take that $25 million and go and do other main roads. Once we get done with all of that, which we believe we know we can do in our first term, we can. In fact, I've had several paving companies tell me we could have this done in a year. Now I don't want to say that we're going to do that because
Right.
as much as I would love to, that's again, I want to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
But we know we can get that done. And, so we've got a great opportunity to completely rebuild our infrastructure within my first term. And why wouldn't we take that? I always compare and I tell folks, when you consider infrastructure in your city, when you consider your roads and your sidewalks, I consider it to be the foundation of our community. Well, if the foundation of your home is crumbling, you need to figure out a way to fix that foundation. And if that foundation is crumbling, you're certainly not putting a pool in the backyard.
Right.
Right. Or a splash pad in the backyard.
Right.
So you're taking care of your infrastructure.
Yeah. To that point, I've been watching just about every couple days. Just because of your position on the council, have you heard about this round of community crossings grants? Have you heard anything about that?
Nope.
Or we should be getting that anytime. Finding out if we got it. We didn't get it. We were not awarded any money back in the spring, which was a horrible ordeal.
Yeah.
So hopefully the city will receive money this time. I can't imagine why they wouldn't have done what needed to be done to get that this time, but time will tell, I guess.
Yeah. No, the council is not made aware of decisions like that.
Amazing.
Or anything for that matter.
Right. Yeah. So one of the questions because listen, hearing this, it sounds like a great thing from my point of view. And I have heard a couple people ask about let's see here. Kate had sent it. A couple people ask about the interest rate on the bond. What's your thoughts on that? As far as where that takes us in paying that back.
Yeah, well, so the interest rate on the bond, we are, and we've been working with great bond counsel that are supporters of mine. And so, we are taking an interest rate of 4.5%. The interest rate could be better than that, but it's not to exceed 4.5%. Look, I understand nobody likes to spend money. Nobody likes to borrow money. And I know Councilman Webb has been saying that, I think he's been saying it's like a 50% interest rate. That is not true at all. It's 4.5%. And look, when you borrow money to buy a house, say you buy a house for $100,000, at the end of your 30-year mortgage, it's going to be more than $100,000, right?
Yeah.
When you buy a car, if you buy a car for $20,000 and you take out a 5-year loan, it's going to be more than $20,000. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of rich benefactors out there that are loaning out money for free. So that's how loans work. You have to, and a bond is a loan. So you have to pay interest on that. And in the case of our bond, we believe 4.5%. It'll be under 4.5%, but we believe it will not exceed 4.5%.
Okay. Okay. We had a gentleman that was on the other day that was commenting, and to be fair, it seemed as though they were definitely cautious of the other side, of a lot of things on the other side, but they had a real concern, a real worry, and I don't know where this is coming from, because again, I've not heard anything like this from you in the years that I've talked to you. Just I can just say personally from my experience, I have never heard you say an ill will or ill word about the police department, the fire department. You seem to have good personal working relationships with a good majority of the police department, the fire department, from everything that I've seen, and just from a personal perspective. But this gentleman, and he was in here for a very long. I guess it was a man. The person was going under a man's name, but they kept hitting on this fact, and it didn't seem like they were trying to put out propaganda more than they were just genuinely concerned that a Robinson administration would change some things that's occurred to the police department. And what they said was that in the last 4 years, and this is not necessarily a Ridenour situation, it's just the culture of the police department changing, that training has become more available, and that things have started taking a turn in the right direction for the police department. And to that, I say, my God, it's about time for that to happen. The police department has been very in a very bad way for years. So I'm glad that we're going in the right direction. But they were concerned that a Robinson administration would, cut training or cut benefits or cut manpower. And to that, what say you?
No. Look, in fact, a lot of the additional training that's been taking place, the new equipment that they've received, the Axon body cams, the new fleet of vehicles they've received, the additional training, the mental health counseling that they receive now, all of those things have come before council, and council has voted unanimously, which means I have voted in favor of all of those things. Look, just because I'm not endorsed by the FOP does not mean I'm somehow not in favor of public safety. Look, our police officers have a tremendously difficult job, and I want to make sure that they have every resource available to them to keep them safe and to keep the community well served. Again, you've got to have police. And when I was talking earlier about those basic responsibilities, part of the city's basic responsibilities is public safety. I've heard this before. Since my opponent received the endorsement of the Greg Winters Lodge, the FOP 87 Lodge, that somehow I'm like anti-police, and I don't know where that came from. I've gone on ride-alongs. I've spoken with the chiefs a number of times. Deputy Chief Deegan has always been communicative, and whenever he's brought me in to talk about something that the police department wants, I'm there to support it. I don't see any reason why I would diminish what they would do. Had the FOP Lodge interviewed me, I would have told them this. Sure. I would have told them that I want to continue this. I also want to enhance. I want to continue building on what's been done. Because look, in 2019, going into 2020, there was a lot of turmoil in the police department. So essentially, what we're doing now is building it back. Yeah. And, look, it's a testament to a lot of hard work by a lot of people. But city council are some of those people who have worked hard and have agreed and voted in favor of providing those additional resources. So no, that is absolutely ridiculous.
Very good. Very good. So, all right. One of the questions that's popped up, and we're getting ready to wind down here, but I want to get to a couple more questions that just have popped up real briefly that I think have been on the minds of everybody. One of the things that's been in everybody's mind has been the city's, in the last couple of years, the city's obsession with these build, operate transfers. As mayor, is that something, I mean, I wouldn't ever ask that you take a tool out of your toolbox, but, are you going to continue that same approach? Would you go back more to relying on the, just the regular bid process? Have you thought about that or given much thought to that?
I think I haven't given much thought to what I would do moving forward because we just don't know what the future will hold. I am somebody that thinks the open bidding process is the best way to go. But I mean, look, the build, operate, transfer is a mechanism because it could be a useful mechanism. Other communities have used the bot successfully. It really just depends on the project itself, and it depends on the dollars you're looking at. But I will always be in favor of an open bidding process because I think that's where you get the best results and that's where you get your best bang for your buck.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think a lot of the problem is how that is used. If it's utilized with communication and transparency, then it's not really a problem. But if it's things that's, kind of held back, then anything could be a problem at that point. So, very good. Let's see here. Look here. There was one more good question. What is, I guess continuing on from what's happened over the last several years and going in with what you're talking about, what's your plan to continue to improve the city's reputation and build the reputation back from, I know we've recently had an allegation of cheating in the fire department and whatnot. What would be your goal to try to improve the reputation of the city?
When people do something wrong, they need to be held accountable.
Sure.
They need to be held accountable. Really, and look, I served, back in, 2015 through 2017 or 18. I served on a committee through the Muncie Delaware County Chamber of Commerce called the Image Committee. And the Image Committee was tasked with finding ways that we can improve the city's image. Not just to outsiders, but more specifically to people who live here now. I would say our own harshest critics are ourselves. People are too down on this community that live here, that have grown up here, can sometimes be negative about this community. We not to say we need to put rose-colored glasses on, but we need to look. We've got a lot of positive things in this community. The people in this community are among the very best anywhere you will go. We're one of the most philanthropic communities in the Midwest, not just in giving of money, but in giving of time and service to others. We've got a world-class university. We've got a regional hospital. We've got, Minnetrista. We've got the Greenway. We've got so many positive things in our community that we need to be focusing and lifting those up. And we need to, as citizens, remember those things and be proud of it. Yeah. Be proud of Muncie. As far as the reputation, look, you can't control every person that works for the city all the time. There are over 400 employees that work for the city of Muncie. You can't have eyes on all of them at all times, but I'm hopeful that, the Ethics Advisory Committee that I brought in April that is beginning their work this week to come up with a citywide code of ethics and establish an ethics commission. I think that's a good start, because when people are doing something that's unethical or doing something that is illegal, that ethics commission is going to be a place to go. So, not to say that that's going to stop bad behavior or bad actors, but it could at the very least deter. Sure. and cut down on. And then when we find it, and when it's brought to that ethics commission's attention, They can investigate it and root it out. But, look, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. And, humans are imperfect. Humans are imperfect. So you're always going to have something that you're dealing with. And then it comes down to how you deal with it.
Right. Well, is there anything that we have not covered or anything that you want the public to know that you haven't said either someplace else or that we haven't talked about this evening?
Oh, I mean, so many things, so many things. But look, I've been seeing questions pop up. I'm happy to be here as long as you'll have me. I'm happy to be here and answer questions for as long as 42% of my battery will last. So, if I were to say anything that hasn't been said, I would encourage folks to look objectively. Look objectively at what's been happening. Look at the unfulfilled promises. Look at the unfinished projects. Look at the things that have taken place. I would tell voters, go and look at my website. Go and look at my opponent's website and compare our plans. Compare our plans and choose who you think has the best plan. I happen to feel very confident that if they do that, they'll vote for me because I am the only candidate who has presented a plan. And that plan is fully laid out on my website, and I'll continue that it'll stay on that website in perpetuity. Right. So that people can go back to that and hold me accountable when I am mayor, because I intend to accomplish these goals.
Absolutely. Real quick, I noticed that Kate has starred a couple things over here that I did not see earlier. If you don't mind, let me just ask you a couple of these starred questions.
Yeah, please.
One important question that I feel like comes up every election period, every election cycle, every year. It doesn't matter who's up or what's going on, but the big question that comes up is, as mayor, what do you plan to do, or do you intend to do anything for the south side of Muncie?
Of course I do. Look, everyone, the south side of Muncie, the east side of Muncie, the west side of Muncie, and the north side of Muncie all deserve attention equally, right? The south side of Muncie has different challenges than the east side, and the east side different than the west and the north. We need to be taking a strategic approach at understanding the issues in each area of the city, and we do that by talking to residents. Like, look, I don't want to be the one saying this is what I'm going to do for the south side. I want people on the south side to tell me what they need. Okay. And that's what we'll do when I'm mayor. That's what we've been doing as we knock on doors. There are things that we can spread around everywhere. Okay. Now the south side needs attention. Okay. The east side also needs attention. There are blighted homes. There are codes that are not being enforced, which further deteriorate our neighborhoods and our community overall. There's generational poverty. Muncie is second only to Gary in the state of Indiana for poverty. We have over 30% poverty rate. We have a drug addiction, a mental health crisis in this community that we seemingly do nothing to address. We talk about it. Every election cycle, you'll hear mayor candidates talking about it. But to this point, we have seen nothing done about it. These are the things that I want to focus on. Again, I mentioned earlier, we want to put Muncie first. And it's not just a campaign slogan. It's a call to action. We are dead serious about this. And this is not just another politician coming in saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to deliver you the world. Everything we are presenting is achievable with the right people around the table. And the right people around the table include not just Democrats. It includes Republicans, Libertarians, anyone who is willing to work on solving issues in this community will be welcomed at that table. Okay, but the only thing I need everybody to understand is we are not doing it for our own personal gain.
Sure.
I am sick and tired of watching mayor after mayor after mayor have a 4-year plan, and the only 4-year plan they have is for their own reelection.
Yeah.
We have got to get serious about planning our community's future. You know, I've told folks if I serve 4 years and I make the right decisions to set this community up for 20, 30 years down the road, and I lose re-election, Chris, I'm okay with that.
Sure.
I'm okay with that. You know, because I happen to think that if you do the right things, re-election takes care of itself.
Right.
You know, and so we've got to get away from that.
Yeah. I was hoping that by the time we did this interview, that the Board of Public Works Committee or whatever, the 3-person council committee of Councilor Selvey, and then the other 2 would have been called, and we would have heard more about the firehouse situation. I've just recently here in the last few minutes been got a couple of questions because they said we haven't really addressed that. It was my hopes that we would hear all of the other information that we have not heard yet. Having been in the position that you're in as a counselor, who I still assume you haven't heard really any more information than you've already heard. But looking forward as someone who wants to be mayor, what does a plan look like, or your plan look like, to try and take care of the issues with the firehouses, either currently in your role as counselor for the next couple months or once elected as mayor?
Yeah, well, you know, something we haven't seen. Okay, so, you know, there were a couple of emails that came to the council back in February, one from Councilman Clark, which had the building plans, the blueprints, and then we received a site analysis from RQAW. You know, we've seen those things, but what I have not seen, and maybe it exists, but I don't think it does, is what does a long-term capital improvement plan look like for all of the fire stations?
Sure.
You know, we're talking about spending $8 million for one. Well, from what they told us in that last meeting, there's significant improvements that need to be made at all but the number 1 fire station. You know, the number 1 fire station had a lot of renovations done a couple of years ago. You know, I think maybe 2018, 19, they put a new floor in and did some other work there. But we haven't seen a long-term capital improvement plan. So we have to be planning for the future. If we're spending $8 million a firehouse, it's going to be a long time before we're making those other improvements and before we're bringing everything
Sure.
up to a standard that our firefighters deserve. You know, so I plan on, look, there's no debate that we need a new fire station number 6. No debate about it at all. The debate that we are having, and I know that that there was a mailer that went out. I think I got text messages today with pictures of it. That was a lot of misinformation. It was stated on there, and I don't have it in front of me, but I think verbatim it said something about I voted against.
This floors me when I've heard these people saying this, that you voted against it.
No, what I have done is voted to table it so that we can figure out, look, in that resolution, they were asking us to approve transaction documents that we still haven't seen. You know, so I am not comfortable moving forward with something until we have all of the information and until we look at other options. For 2.5 years, this administration has looked at only one option, and that's the build, operate, transfer.
Yeah.
You know, let's put it out for open bid. Let's get other drawings. Do we need an $8 million station, or will a $4 million station do? You know, I mean, it blows my mind that they are making this as political as they can possibly make it, all the while pointing at me that I'm the one making it political. I'm just trying to do my job.
Sure.
You know, I noticed that my opponent on his Facebook page showed the similar resolution that came before the council in, I believe, 2021, or maybe it was 2022, for the potential solar bot.
Yeah.
And that and he pointing out that I voted in favor of that. Yeah, I did. And then what happened after that was that he went and he purchased the property, tax dollars spent, and continued on as if it was happening. So when the financing came to us and that project did not work, and Kristopher, you were there during that debate, no one challenged my numbers.
No.
Not one person disagreed with my numbers, which showed that at best we were going to make about, I think, 12 or 20 grand a year. At worst, we were going to lose money, and that's a 30-year investment. So yeah, I do have a little bit more pause this time.
Sure.
After that happened, because I don't want us spending money if we're going to take a different route. Let's look at the other options. This option is not going anywhere. We absolutely need a new fire station. It's taken 2.5 years to get here. What's another few months to investigate and make sure that we're getting we're taking the right steps in the right direction? I don't see any issue with it.
That's what I didn't understand. You had a fellow council member who said that, they didn't want the firemen spending another night in these bad firehouses. And I thought, okay, that's a nice thing to say. However, even if the council would have voted yes, 9-0 that evening, these firemen aren't going to be moving into a new firehouse tomorrow. They're not going to be moving into a new firehouse by Christmas. They're not going to be moving into a new firehouse this time next year. They wouldn't start construction on the firehouse if everything went to plan. And so far, everything that this administration has done has not went to plan. If it went to plan, they wouldn't start construction until May or June of next year, per the company's own words. And then you've got a period of time after that. So that's the thing that I thought of when they're saying that it's politics being played by your side of the council. And I thought that's crazy to me, that tabling this to get more information for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. It just doesn't really add that much in the grand scheme of things to this. I don't know why the firemen moving in August of next year or moving in October of next year, it's still going to be August or October of next year. Yeah. There's nothing that voting on the 2nd was going to do to change that.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, with all due respect, and I do mean that, with all due respect to Dan Ridenour, this council was vilified after we tabled the Horizon Company proposal. Yeah. That tax abatement. He went on his community update the following day and just ripped the council for tabling it to do our due diligence. And then what happens? Right? The newspaper uncovers what they uncover, that the man who was bringing this had defrauded people, had committed bank fraud, wire fraud, other things, had spent time in federal prison. This is not the first time. And look, let me be very clear. I'm not saying that the developers here now are doing that.
Sure.
I don't think they are.
Right.
But it has proven us right, the council, time and time again, when we want to do our due diligence, it's for good reason.
Yeah.
We are where we are because there is no trust between the council and the mayor, because quite frankly, there's never been any attempt to develop relationships with this council from this mayor. We have tried to work with this man, and he just will not work with us. So when you bring projects to us and there's no trust, and we've been proven right time and time again, I'm sorry, but we're going to do our due diligence. I think that's what our citizens in our community expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be the last question I'm going to end on with that. You said that you were trying to, it's hard to earn, that little bit of communication and respect between each other and build that. As mayor, other than for scheduled vacations or illnesses or some other pre-planned deal, will you commit to attending as many council meetings, even through the election year, that you can attend?
Absolutely. Look, it's about relationships. It's about trust. It's about being present. Look, I mean, to his credit, the mayor, Dan Ridenour, was at every city council meeting until February.
Yeah.
I announced my candidacy on January 12th. I don't know if it's a coincidence, but it is what it is. But,
Sure.
I was a little surprised after 2.5 years and with as much, I'll say, passion that my opponent has had on these firehouses. I was very surprised he wasn't there to try to sell it himself.
Yeah, that really shocked me. I was surprised that we didn't see the mayor there through the presentation of the budget. There's been a couple things that's happened that I really, no matter where you fall on this and whatever you do on Tuesday the 7th, you have to have your eyes open and you have to say, what's going on here? And the fact that there are people out there that, hell, I guess if there's someone that's not going to vote for you, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if they can't even ask a question of their guy, then that's a concern. I don't know why that's not concerning to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, I appreciate your time this evening, and we've been putting it up on the screen. Your website is robinsonformuncie.com, and Jeff on find Jeff on Facebook at facebook.com /Jeff Robinson Muncie. Are there anything else going on between now and election day, or is it just basically feet on the ground, knocking on the doors?
Well, it's a lot of that. I was out. That's why I swear I'm not wearing this to promote myself tonight. I was knocking on doors, went and grabbed a bite to eat, and then came here to headquarters to do this. We have a happy hour meet and greet this Friday at the Fickle Peach from 5 to 7. Fickle Peach is located, I think it's 117 East Charles Street downtown. I believe, with the exception of just a couple who had prior engagements, I think almost every Democrat candidate will be at the Fickle Peach this Friday night. So 5 to 7 p.m., come out for the meet and greet, ask us questions. Going back to that accessibility, we want to make sure that all of these candidates, that we're out and we're talking to the community, because that's the job of an elected official. And of course, all of us are trying to get to be elected officials. So come out then, and while I'm saying that, while I'm here, I want to tell everybody, this slate of Democratic candidates is among the best and brightest that this Democrat Party has ever had as a slate of candidates. Okay, and for the first time in over 20 years, our entire slate of candidates are running together. And every single one of them is here to serve the community. We understand the mistakes of Democrats in the past. We are not those Democrats. And in fact, we are working even harder to right the wrongs of those Democrats of the past. So I would encourage everybody, take a look at these candidates. They're out there busting their butts every single day. I am so proud to be on the ticket with these Democrat candidates, and I would encourage everybody to give them a look. And Chris, before we depart, I know I've gotten a little bit of guff for coming on to the program. I've had people tell me I shouldn't do this. I've had people tell me, oh, you don't want to go on that Bilbrey's show. You have an audience. Okay, you've been doing this a while. You and I have talked. I don't agree with your approach all the time. I don't agree with the way you do things sometimes. We've talked about that. That's no secret to you.
Sure.
But I can say the people that watch your program, and I know that people do this every night, these people are just as important as anyone else.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I will go anywhere, anytime to talk to any citizen. Any citizen. You know, I saw a comment earlier from someone, and I don't want to mention his name, but, you know, I will go where I am invited.
Yeah.
I'm not too good that I can't come on a program at night and talk to people and answer their questions. And I can say, Kristopher, with what you do, I can tell you that what you do here holds elected officials accountable.
Sure.
I've heard elected officials say, "Oh God, what's Bilbrey going to say about this?"
Right.
So although I disagree sometimes with your approach on things, this is no different than any other media. It plays an important role in information, in disseminating that information. So, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate the invitation, and thank you for having me, and thank you for everything you do.
Absolutely. I reserve my time to tell Jeff what I do and don't like after he's elected.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody says, "Oh, you know, once you get elected, Bilbrey's coming for you." Yeah, no kidding. I know he will. But you know what, Chris? We've gotten along this long, even with me being president for 3 years, because I communicate with you.
Yeah.
When we disagree on something, when you call me, I answer. We talk it through, and it's good.
The sheriff of Randolph County, his name is Art Moisner, and he gets a lot of guff from a lot of different people kind of in my world for different things, but he and I have a mutual respect. He's a Republican. He and I agree. I'll be honest, and I've said this to you before. If you were running for anything but mayor, you and I probably would disagree a lot more. You know what I mean? But I like your approach, and I like the way that you've communicated on a lot of things, and I do appreciate that. And I do appreciate our friendship outside of this as well. I agree with Art a ton of the time, but disagree with things that he does as sheriff. But the thing that happens is Art, as candidate before he was sheriff, has always picked up the phone. He calls me. He answers when I call. He always talks to me. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to him alone. It doesn't matter if he's standing in a room of 30 of my haters. He'll walk straight up to me. He addresses me. He treats me like I'm a human. I treat him like he's a human. We communicate, and he never hides. And when I walk out and everybody goes, "Oh my God, can you believe that? Why are you talking to him?" He says, "If you guys would just stop, if you would just talk, it wouldn't be the thing that it is." And so many people, that goes way over their heads, and they're lost on that. And I can't believe how confusing it is for people. So I do appreciate that about you. I do thank you for coming on. And I just, the one thing that you've got going for you is my grandma said I can't do any memes of red hair because she's a redhead. So I won't be able to bash you there. But
you said that was your grandmother?
Yes.
Oh, give her a big hug for me and thank her for that. Because look, us redheads get a lot of crap.
Yes. that's what she says, that, you know, the redheaded people. She said, at least he's a beautiful man.
Hey, all right. I like her even more.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime. And we'll see what happens.
Yep. Thank you so much, Kristopher. Have a great night.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jeff Robinson, the Democrat candidate. And I know that there were other questions that I didn't get to. I know that there were questions that I didn't get. I apologize for that. I had questions. He had a certain amount of time. And I do appreciate the fact that he said, "I'll be here until the battery goes dead." Now, I do know for a fact that when you're on a camera phone, versus when you're on a computer and a camera, that StreamYard eats that battery up. And a lot of you may or may not have caught it, but I heard his battery light clicking on. I heard the thing going. So I don't know how much time we had, but we were coming to an end one way or another, and I didn't want to just lose him. So I would highly recommend anybody that did not get questions answered to send him messages on Facebook. Send him questions on Facebook. send him a private message on Facebook, post underneath his things. I can tell you the one thing about Jeff is he will communicate. I have been Facebook friends with Dan Ridenour since long before he announced that he was running for mayor. In the middle teens, 16, 17, somewhere around in there. And he has never responded on Facebook. Not when he was running for office, not while he's been in office. Never, no how, no way, for no reason does he respond on Facebook. The only way I'm able to get a hold of Dan is to text him directly. And about 80% of the time, he doesn't answer those texts either. Hell, he barely answers questions while standing in front of him. So that is what it is. Are there things that I have issue with Jeff on? Absolutely. I've talked critical of Jeff here just recently in the whole deal with the bot, and when I was asking everybody and their brother, did Dan do this? Did Dan come before you guys? And nobody seemed to know. Well, Jeff was one of those people. So I have absolutely have issues with Jeff. But I have issues with all of them. And everybody always says, oh, he supports somebody, and then he bashes them as soon as they get in. Yeah, hell yeah, I do. We all should. The fact that you guys can't call people out, the Dan addicts, the fanatical base of Dan's crew, the cheerleaders, the Dan addicts, whatever you want to call them, the fact that they can't say, hey, boss, I like you, but I want to know, you know what that does? That's what people say, I would never, if I was a police officer, I would never stand and let another police officer hit somebody in handcuffs. But then they stand right there and they let Dan Ridenour do the dumbest shit. They stand there and they let J.D. Prescott do stupid stuff. Or they stand in there and they let Jessica Piper do stupid stuff. Or James King give a $224,000 contract to his brother. You know what I mean? And nobody says anything about it. I put that out 24 hours ago, and there's been only 2-3 people comment on it. No hubbub. Nobody cares. So, yeah, that's how you would stand there as a police officer and let another cop bash somebody in the heads. Not everybody asks those questions, and those people are useless. They should get out of the way. It's so stupid. While you guys are pissing around in Indiana, wait, go back. In Indiana with your elections tomorrow night. Tomorrow night? We don't have any elections tomorrow night. The elections aren't here for 2-3 more weeks. Oh, elections tomorrow night. I will not be here. I will be at the inauguration dinner for a recently elected governor. Well, damn, Alva. Are you for real? Are you serious? Send me an invite. I'll be down there. I can get down there with you. I'll be your driver. Toxic positivity is poisoning Muncie and possibly Munis as well. That's a very good day. I have all sorts of episodes on all sorts of different names of programs about toxic positivity. Absolutely. I have ripped Ryan King for shit. Ryan Webb for shit. That thing said Ryan the King. I have ripped Ryan Webb for shit. I have went after Jeff. I've been mad at Troy before. I'm sure if Audie is elected, I'm sure I will have issues with Audie. I have issues with Audie now. So it is what it is. If you think electing, there's a really silly girl in government, and a lot of us know who she is. I'm not going to say her name. I think I'm going to stop talking about these people altogether, other than just referring to them. There's a really silly young girl in politics, and she is so wrapped up in the infatuation, she doesn't realize that what she's doing does not help her team. But it is what it is. If you cannot ask a question of your people, it's bad. The worst thing Ronald Reagan ever did, The worst thing Ronald Reagan ever did was say that stupid 11th commandment, thou shalt not say anything ill of a fellow Republican. To hell with that. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm going to continue doing that. Missing post. See above. Indiana municipalities and the state government via. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I'll ask you, how is Jerry not the Democrats of the past? That's a good question. Well, for one, I don't believe he was interviewed, and I'll just say this from my point of view. I have not heard from Jerry. I hopefully he'll interview for the show. I've got someone who said that he's going to. I don't know what's happening there. But Jerry Dishman, to my knowledge, was not interviewed or interrogated by the he was not suspected of anything with the FBI. So that's just my knowledge of, I'm assuming what they will say is you're innocent until proven guilty. And not only was he not proven guilty, but he was not even accused of being. So I think that's probably what they would say, in all fairness. I want to say this. Yeah, Sarah Goyen. I hate it. I hate the fact that Sarah Goyen has said that she will not interview. I don't know why she's choosing to do that. I have some sneaking suspicions as to why Sarah is choosing not to do that. But I can only assume that she's not going to. And I can't force her, and that's fine. I think that the citizens of District 4 are in a bad way because, to my knowledge, we've only heard publicly from either one of these people very few times. And so, all I gotta say is thank God I'm not voting in that area. And the citizens of District 4 are going to have to, take all of that into consideration. Brad Marshall also refused, and he gets the same dirt ball response from me as well. I don't know what their deal is. I hate that they're not doing that, and it sucks. It's gross, Everyone,
what interviews do you have lined up? Instead of talking about who's not coming on, who is?
Well, let me tell you what we got going on. Who is lined up here now? Okay, so for next week, I'll start there. Next week, the week of the 22nd, Sunday the 22nd through Saturday the 28th, I will be doing a lot of the Winchester candidates. We have a lot of Winchester candidates that will be interviewing. And so that will be taking care of a lot of those people. I also will be planning to do the Newcastle, a couple Newcastle candidates starting like the 28th, 29th, or earlier in the week if I get Winchester done. And that will be that. And then of the candidates left in Muncie, give me 1 second here. I'll tell you who's left in Muncie and what we've got going on. Of the candidates left in Muncie, we have a whole slate of Republicans. Ridenour, Munson, Green, Talby, Marshall, Temple. Roselvi has already said no. Clark and Basham. Okay, so as far as my knowledge, they're all off. On the Democrat side, we have She Who Shall Not Be Named, Dishman, Mason, McIntosh, and Smith. And to my knowledge, I have not. I was told that Dishman wanted to interview. Who's Temple? That's hilarious. Temple is a former Muncie police officer who's running as a Republican for District 6. He is running against Harold Mason, and I have heard so many people say, "What? Who's this guy? I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know anyone who this is." Yeah, Joey, 214 is a name that's both used in joyous conversation and discussed when talking about the local Democrat Party. It's been kind of like in Batman, in the old 1968 Batman, when they would be down in the Bat cave, and then it would always go to like the Joker's hideout or the Catwoman's lair, and all of the picture kind of went skewed. When you walk in 214, that's how everything looks. It's skewed. It's like at an angle, and everybody's sitting around in henchman hats, and it says henchman 1, henchman 2, henchman 3. I want to say this. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with 214. It was who was in charge at the time. I mean, it's like the Amityville horror house. They say that nothing's happened there since they did that. They walked through and they blessed it or whatever. But people are still afraid of it. It's kind of like what happens. So it is what it is. In all fairness, I like Harold Mason. Okay, I don't know Billy Mack personally. Harold Mason, I know from my time in law enforcement, he was a dispatcher. He was a dispatch supervisor, and he's always been a great guy. I like Harold Mason. I hope he'll want to interview. So that's that. Let me see. I want to go back here and see what this is. I'll have to do Dishman in person. Does he know he's running? I'm not sure if he knows he's running. I wanted to see. Oh, yeah, that's what makes me. I see what you're saying. So, oh yeah, we would debate it up, but the problem is the losers don't want to come, and I don't mean the political losers. I mean actually losers because they are too afraid to talk to the public. Those citizens don't want to come. I didn't want to pull this out while Jeff was here. This was the mailer that went out today. Quite comical. The choice is clear for Muncie Mayor. Here's the picture of Dan. And the picture here of Jeff Robinson pointing to Dan. Comical. Mayor Dan Ridenour, endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, all firefighters, and Sheriff Tony Skinner. Jeff Robinson, not endorsed by any public safety organizations. Dan Ridenour, leading the effort to build new fire stations to give our firefighters the tools they need to keep our city safe. Jeff Robinson, voted against an important investment in our fire department, kicking the can down the road. Dan Ridenour hired an in-house private paving crew that saved taxpayers 60%, allowing us to pave more roads. Jeff Robinson wants to shut down that paving crew, leaving us to drive on crumbling roadways. Dan Ridenour created an executive plan that paid down $6.8 million in debt without raising taxes. Jeff Robinson, well, he wants to borrow another $25 million.
What are we up to now that Dan's asked to borrow? 18 on the solar,
18 on the solar, 18 on
firehouses.
the firehouses. Then he walked it down to 12. Then he walked it down to 8. 3.5 million dollar bond, where he was going to give parts of it to different places, and I've not found out where.
I'm up to 39.5.
Yeah, and I've not found out where 700,000 of that even has went to yet.
Yeah.
No one will tell me. I think that's just off the top of my head what I thought. Endorsed Dan Ridenour, endorsed because I gave public safety $3,000 bonuses last week. This is comical. I love cringe, and these things are so cringe. It's just so gross. It's so gross. I don't know. I don't know, City of Muncie, if it's the fact that you love 18 or that Greg Martz loves 18. Now, really quickly to end this program, I want to tie the City of Muncie together with the story that I told you last night about the Muncie Fire Department. Or the Muncie Fire Department, excuse me, you guys, about the, I want to tie the Muncie Fire Department ordeal, the Muncie Firehouse deal in Muncie, to the story I told you guys last night about the commissioners and the roof at the Justice Center. So, for those of you that didn't watch yesterday's show, remember, just briefly, I talked about how the commissioners, which are Shannon Henry, James King, and Sherry Riggin, the Cowboy Kids, and their sleepy sister, how they, in a matter of moments, went from having a deal they needed to talk to about the roof to voting on an emergency resolution that threw the bid process out that allowed them to get quotes, but they didn't need to go away to get quotes because they already had the quotes before they even voted on the emergency. And then they ripped open the quotes and read from them, and there were 3 quotes. One was $264,000. One was $232,000, and one of them was $224,000. So they went with the $224,000 quote, which is a company called Davis Construction. Davis Construction is owned and operated by Melvin Davis, which at one point was or is the stepbrother of one of the commissioners, James King. That was never talked about, okay? James King was not only voted for this, but was the one that made the motion, okay? Now, why are we talking about this? Why did this happen? Well, it's because the Delaware County Justice Center, currently not the condo Justice Center that the city of Muncie owned and then sold to the Jennings boys, but the current in use Delaware County Justice Center that used to be the Wilson School Building. Several years ago, when that went through the process of being, turned over and what all of this, the Delaware County Commissioners got a bond that was $45 million. $45 million. Now, I want to show you something. I want to show you on this screen. I want to show you Delaware. Okay. Man, is there not a picture from the air of this building? Okay. Yeah, right here. Watch. Okay, I want you to look at this for a second. Oh, look, there's James King. That's a weird uniform for a commissioner. This is not really what I wanted. Let's see. Delaware County. Okay, I'm gonna do it like this. This is the way. I don't know why I was struggling with this. Okay, right here. Like this. Here's the complex. Here's the new complex. Okay. This is the Delaware County Justice Center. Okay, this is when it was being built. This is 2019. Ooh, this is 2021. This is December 2021. So this is what it looks like now, folks. Okay. Here we go. This is the campus that is the Delaware County Justice and Rehabilitation Center. And in this is basically all county government that deals with law enforcement. So your courts, your sheriff's department, the jail, the prosecutor's office, adult probation, public defender's office, everything is in this building. Here's the roof that needs to be redone. And they built this. When I say built this, they remodeled it for a $45,000 bond, which for the next 40 years, we will pay a grand total of $92 million on because of the build, operate, transfer. Now, Greg Martz of GM Development was involved with that. Greg Martz is the man who wants $18 million for 2 fire stations. He's the man that wants $8 million for 1 fire station. Listen, if he couldn't figure out a way to give us a Delaware County Justice Center with a roof on it for somewhere between $45 and $92 million, I don't know. Are the firemen going to get a firehouse with a roof on it? Or 3 years after they move in, are we going to have to do another roof job? You know, what's going to happen with that? Maybe that goes to speak to why we shouldn't use the build, operate, transfer or GM development. Hey, maybe the build, operate, transfer works with somebody else. You know, Greg Martz is connected in with people that are running this, that we're paying money to as they operate it. We're leasing this. They're the Delaware County Justice Center partners. Who are those partners? Well, you look them up on the Indiana State Secretary of State's website, and you start Googling their names. Well, this guy who's a partner, he's part of RQAW. Who's RQAW? Oh, RQAW is the person that works in the construction company that actually did the work. So Greg Martz is the middleman. He gets RQAW to do the work. They do the work. They don't put the roof on this. Who's RQAW? Oh, they're just a group of guys. There's a Brian Batten and a Woodruff. Well, who's Woodruff? Well, Woodruff and all, they're connected to the Republicans that put the build, operate, transfer in place at the state government. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, I did notice that. It is insane. Okay, let me show you something else real quick here, folks. This is why I wanted to fight so hard to show you that building. At the same time we were dealing with this jail, the Henry County government was also dealing with a new jail. They were dealing with building and doing all of that with a new jail, okay? So let me show you. Give me 1 second here. It's loading. Can you see this? Yep. Okay, watch this. Look at this, and let's talk about how much this cost here in a second. Look at this. Okay? Now, I get it. I get that building is smaller than the Delaware County Justice Center. Okay? I get that there's a difference in size there. I'm not an idiot. Okay? I know I play one on TV every night, but I know that there's a difference in size. Okay? I'm gonna show you here as soon as I get this thing to flip back and be willing to work with me. Okay, here we go. Here is the Delaware County Jail. In secret squirrel vision. We'll come back to that. Here's this. Here's the Henry County Jail. That seems like that'd be a fun place to stay. I think that. I could live there. Okay, so you saw that there. Here's the part that I want. All right, here's like the overview of in the back. You see basically the size of it. Okay, and then here is the size of the Delaware County Jail. All right. Now, here's the thing. For the jail that's on the screen right now, you got for $45 million. Plus, after that $45 million bond to build, we now have to pay $92 million over the course of 40 years, which is insane. This is the Delaware County Jail. Here it is. This is that. So that cost 45. This was a bond for 25,000. So for $5,000 for $5 million more than half, they got a brand new building built with a whole property line there. There's fences and things put out there and a whole ordeal. A whole building built from scratch with a roof for $25 million. And Delaware County paid $45 million to change this former school into a prison. And we didn't get a roof. That's a good, good. Let me find out. Okay, Delaware County, Indiana. Jail space. Ooh, here we go. Look at this. This is from RQAW. Uh, 247,000 square foot. Damn, without a single change order. If only they would have done that roof. That looks like a really nice campus that they then turned into a prison, a jail. All right, the Henry County deal. Is pulling it up here now. The Henry County completed jail was okay, let's see here. Overall construction cost was $25.9 million. And it is a 56,591 square foot facility, will accommodate 246 beds for inmates. So it is quite a bit smaller. It is quite a bit smaller. The bottom line is they need... We don't need to be paying... They need to bring Greg Martz back, and they need to bring RQAW back, and they need to say, hey, some of you, one of you needs to cough up a roof. Absolutely ridiculous. They are supposed to be building some kind of a drug treatment facility, mental health housing facility unit next to the jail. The same people are involved. They're all the same people. Greg Martz should be living in one of these. Oh, God. I just don't understand. Delaware County is counting on DOC and Fed payments. They paid $20 million for a brand new building, we could have gotten a brand new building for what we already paid. No kidding. Absolutely. I would like to ask Paulie Jail Building, what could you have built us in Delaware County for $45 million? Maybe they'll just burn it down. Oh my God. That's a little inside humor. That's funny. Yeah, they might. There's always how many roundabouts did we lose out on? Well, fortunately, City of Muncie, that was now that's now county area out there, so we traded that off for the luxurious Delaware County jail. People need to understand. Annie said it right here. People need to understand that these bot projects get a middleman fee. That's why the price is so expensive. Yeah. That's exactly right. I don't know. I just know that we need to be taking an awful good look at this. Now, Elizabeth Edgel said that Yenser told her that they called for the public hearing, the public meeting. I have not heard that yet. I've not been able to watch Dream with Dan. The Dream with Dan was tonight, and we will go over the Dream with Dan tomorrow. I will watch it, and we will watch it all together. There's also a Board of Works meeting this morning and Dan's recent community update. So tomorrow we will go over Dan's dreaming ordeal, the community update, and we'll talk about what, if any, kind of committee meeting is coming up here soon. I don't know. Where is that process written in law? Karen, if you're talking about what happened with this situation, it was basically the commissioners did all of that stuff way back when, several years ago, 2015, 16, 17, 18, around in there, that they worked on getting that ordeal going. They used a system that we have here in Indiana called the Build, Operate, Transfer. Dan Ridenour, as mayor, when he became mayor, he had the council approve a resolution that was a Build, Operate, Transfer resolution. The city of Muncie now uses this. Basically, what it does is it gives them a different way to deal with projects other than just doing a bid out and have anyone and everybody come bid that's interested. It gives them a little bit more leeway in who they want to pick and just pick somebody straight off the bat. So that's what goes on. And it lends itself to corrupt practices because you don't have an anonymous bid process. It's crazy. Oh no. We'll be on tomorrow. We will definitely be on tomorrow.
He's got dinner with the governor.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Well, peace, Alva. Hope you have a good day yesterday. I hope you had a good day yesterday. Jesus, I'm tired. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. And I hope that you have a great dinner. Hope that you have a great game, whatever's going on there. Have fun. Come back and tell us about it. I got answers to my questions stuttered back to me. No trust. Yes, no trust. Absolutely. That's interesting that you say that, because they used to have them on Thursdays. And then all of a sudden, they started having these things on Wednesdays for some reason. I think they moved it to Wednesday because of the Delaware County Fair, and they never moved it back. Dream with Dan, October 18th. There's the meeting. I don't even recognize who half these people are. Yeah, I don't see anything about that. It's ridiculous. So that's what we'll go over tomorrow, folks. We'll go over the Board of Works meeting. It was 12 minutes. We'll go over the mayor's community update. It was 3 minutes. And then we will go over the Dream with Dan. It's 51 minutes. So that will be our Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. And I will be able to tell you if we have a committee meeting scheduled for the Firehouse talk or not. Time will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. Share the show with everyone you know. Help spread the word. Thank you for being here. I want to thank our guest, Jeff Robinson, for coming on and talking to the citizens. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you all very, very, very much. We will see you back here for a very busy Thursday night show. Take care. Good night. God bless. Bye.